Happy Wednesday, everybody. All right, so we are going to do core today. I'm going to use the stability ball for today's moves, but not necessary, right? It's going to be fairly obvious how you adapt. If you need any help, give me a holler. So the first one I'm going to do is plank variation. It's a single leg plank variation. A lot more challenging because you're working on balancing and stabilizing on the ball too, but you can do this with feet elevated off the sofa, right, off a bench, a chair, lock in that upper body position. So getting that rotation of that elbow pit forward, pulling the shoulder blades back and down, tucking that belly button up and under the lower rib. Little mini squeeze in the glutes to keep the hips even as you tap really gently out to the side. I like to reset each time in the middle. So obviously, the speed at the tap, or lack thereof, is going to determine how many reps you do. If you're really moving nice and slow, 16 is probably a good number. Maybe 12 is your number, maybe 10, right? Once you start to feel like you can't keep the hips up or you're feeling anything in your lower back, that's just a sign that that part of your core is worn out and time to move on, or you don't have any more strength left. So listen to your body in terms of what's happening here. Second exercise we're going to do is stir the pot, familiar to just about everybody, I am sure. So again, another plank variation. So, but this time you're going to set up with your elbows up on the ball. So feet behind, and again, like none of this sagging back, right? Keep the hips up, keep the shoulders rolled back and down, and you're going to really slowly rotate. The slower you go, the more that core has to kick in to support the movement. A little squeeze in the glutes will also help support keeping the hips even. So again, if you need to reset each time you come back, you can alternate sides. You can stay on one side and do 8 in one direction, 8 in the other direction. If you're going really slow, maybe 5 in each direction is enough, right? So take your time, work on feeling that connection deep and alongside the core on this one, right? So you should feel it kind of down these sides. Okay, third exercise is going to be a pike and a pushback. So we're going to combine two movements. You can absolutely do one or the other. If your shoulders are bugging you, the pike may not be the best position because you're almost in like an overhead press position, but inverted. So take that out. You can totally do this with a towel, right? Where your hands would be on a towel. Or your feet, excuse me, would be on the towel. All right, so here we go. Same setup. What you don't want to do, like if you were just doing pike, you could probably roll out pretty far, but that would make the length of the leather a little bit longer. So you want to keep the length of the leather not too long, because the longer the leather, the harder this exercise is, right? So just clear your knees on the stability ball. I'm going to start with the push back. So I'm going to set my core, push through my palms of my hands, try and keep the body straight, push back a few inches, pull back up, pull into a plank. Come back, push back, reset, pull up. So I think for me personally, one of the most challenging combos there is, right? I feel this really deep in, and so much of this has to stay steady. Your shoulders have to stay steady, especially on the pike, right? So try and make sure you keep everything nice and sturdy in the shoulder girdle, especially as you pull up, right? Think about keeping this connection front and back super tight. All right, last but not least, variation on a crunch on the ball. I'm going to use a band to give me a little bit more feedback. You can you absolutely do not need to use the band. You can support your head and neck on the shoulders, but here's how I ideally we set up. So we're going to roll out so that the ball, like the arch of the ball, is ideally set on our lower back. If you've got any sort of neck things, you could totally rest your neck in something, or even just in your hands, but let the head be heavy, right? Try not to crank on the head. All right, so I'm going to hold my hands with my shoulders back and down. I'm just going to crunch up. Again, moving slowly enough that I feel that connection. And I'm just resetting my shoulders so that my shoulders are back and down each time I get to the start. Because that connection, that shoulder connection, will force all of this upper body to stay connected to the core, right? So you want to keep that connection, and on a crunch, you're thinking about contracting and shortening this distance, right? So all of this is pulling in, contracting, and then lengthening. If you want to come back over the ball a little bit of that is okay on your lower back, and you get even more range of motion. It takes more muscle to crunch up. So relaxing down, but even making the way down slow and controlled, so you're getting work done here. All right, so keep the tension, keep the focus, keep those low back safe. Think about this connection, how those abdominal muscles down the side, down the front, and the back are all working together. Enjoy. Take care, everybody.